Hello and welcome into another edition of State of the Sun Devils alongside Jesse Morrison and Damon Allred. I'm Jeremy Schnell. We're just over 2 weeks away, under 2 weeks away from the Peach Bowl, guys. I can't believe it. It's felt like it's been so long off already, and it's only been a week and a half.
All right, I got a question. Gonna interrupt you real quick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you a little bit bummed, just slightly a little bit
That
bummed
they're not playing
they're not playing this weekend? Because Damon before the show he said,
called him out.
He said no. He likes the idea of the bye. I'm so excited for this weekend of football, and I would kind of love it if ASU was playing.
Here's what I'll say. It's a very good sports weekend in general.
Oh, it's incredible.
You have a lot of men's, women's basketball games happening this weekend, as well as college football, and then obviously NFL and NHL and NBA. But nothing better than the college football playoff, which is what ASU was going to be playing in just under 2 weeks' time. Can you believe that?
I can't. I'm still. It's still fine. It's started to finally. Get to me that they're actually in it, and it's crazy. And I'm just like thinking, oh, the school that I went to is actually playing in the college football playoff.
Insane.
It's crazy to me. It's just like I thought they were going to win 6 games. But anyway,
real quick before we get into like the team news and stuff like that, Damon, we were at Trophy Bar yesterday. We're recording this on Thursday, and there was a pep rally for Sparky's Den yesterday, hosted by the great Luke Lipinski. He had a bunch of guests on, including star running back, should have been Heisman Trophy winner, Cam
Should have been winner?
finalist. Let's slow your roll a little bit.
Just messing around. Okay. Cam Scadaboo was there. We got to talk to him. But the turnout by ASU fans, that was something else, Damon, was it not?
Yeah, there were a lot of fans out there, and they were very passionate. It was easy to tell that, everyone's feeling good about the team, feeling great about Scadaboo, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to 98.7 earlier today, and they were talking about, he's an ASU legend at this point.
Already,
in the ranks of Pat Tillman and Jake Plummer, and, what he has a chance to do here, if ASU can make a run, would solidify himself really in Arizona sports history too. Maybe on the Mount Rushmore of it.
Yeah, just awesome turnout. Hope to see a lot of ASU fans in Georgia as well. Now let's get to the team news. Shamari Simmons, his targeting penalty that happened in the second half of the Big 12 championship game, that was upheld. So he'll be out for the first half of the Peach Bowl. Very upsetting, obviously, but what are you going to do? Next man up.
Exactly. I was about to say that.
Next man up mentality.
And for only a half.
Yeah, and Warren, he's done a good job this season, especially on special teams, Damon.
And has really come on late, too. He's been making an impact in practices. Had that touchdown in the UCF game?
Yep, picked it up off the block punt. Still think that he should have let that bounce, but hey, turned into a touchdown.
I can't believe you still have this take.
When a ball is bouncing, I get scared when someone is going to pick it up.
And that's why you're not Montana Warren.
Yeah. You're Jeremy Schnell, not Montana Warren.
Good job by Montana Warren. Yeah, no, he's played fine and done a very successful job in special teams and some nickel corner snaps as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. Obviously, this is a big moment for him, and he had that play again with the fumble return or for a or block punt return for a touchdown. So we've seen him make plays. I think he can make plays in this game. It's only for a half, and then we get to see Shamari Simmons back, and hopefully another BS targeting penalty doesn't happen to Shamari or any of these players. Let's just hope that doesn't happen this college football playoff, yeah. Because there's just so borderline now, and it's frustrating that Shamari doesn't get to play. Again, I've said this before.
He'll play.
Yeah,
I'll say he won't.
The first half.
Okay.
In the first half.
Hey. Games are won in the second half.
That is true. Games are won in the second or the middle 8, which includes part of the second half. And so, yeah, I mean, they've just got to change this rule because it unfairly punishes kids for not trying to injure players, just accidentally hitting somebody. And yeah, I'm bummed that friend of the show, Shamari Simmons, does not get to play in the first half of the Peach Bowl, the biggest game of his life.
You've heard of, I hope they just have fun. I hope both teams just have fun. Jesse bringing I hope both teams just don't get called for targeting.
Yep.
Very good.
I do hope that both teams have fun in this game. I'm hoping for that.
What have you seen specifically at practice this week about the next man up mentality with Montana Warren? What have the coaches been saying about him? What have his teammates been saying about him?
Well, it's been kind of a nickel by committee situation here. Obviously, Warren was announced as the likely starter by Kenny on Wednesday, but they've been putting some other guys in there. Kyan McDonald was in the conversations to start for much of this process so far. But Brian Ward, talked on Wednesday about the secondary guys just have to have versatility to their game because of what is asked of them in this system. And so, he's talking about Montana's played a lot at free safety, and the free safety position is very similar to the nickel position in this defense. And I just think that the amount of veterans that are still on that back end, the Javen Robinsons, the X Alfords, Ghost Rousers, I think there's enough back there where, they can insulate kind of the less experienced Montana.
Yep. And brings us to the next topic of discussion, which is the transfer portal guys. Listen, they brought in a couple wide receivers that are really going to help this room out next year, Noble Johnson and Jalen Moss. But I want to start with the kicker first, and Jesus Gomez. This is the ASU's biggest need, arguably. It was a kicker.
I don't think there's an argument about it, and I just think it's hard for people to grasp that a kicker who a lot of football people don't consider a football player. But again, the kicking game is so important in football. We've seen it matter this year for ASU, and so I think that this is a huge get, that they needed a kicker, and getting Jesus Gomez here, who was 20 of 25 this season, a consistent kicker, somebody that can actually knock down kicks, and you're not kind of scared when they come out there.
Doing it in cold weather too.
Doing it in cold weather too, and
he's gonna love that Tempe weather.
Yeah, it's very exciting to see him transfer here, especially because he was a big part in getting Kenny Dillingham to Arizona State.
I wouldn't. His first ever field goal was in that game. Actually,
field goals.
Goals.
3 of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
3 field goals.
Those 3 ended up being the difference in the game, 30-21.
Yep. There you go.
So there is reports that he had interest from Ohio State. That being said by Bill Kurlick. He writes for 24/7 in Ohio State, Columbus, I should say. But that's pretty cool to see ASU getting these recruits over big-time programs like Ohio State, if he was possibly going, picking between those two schools, at ASU and Ohio State.
I mean, why would you want to live in Columbus if you can live in Tempe?
You sound like Kenny Dillingham.
Especially if you visited during this time of year. I mean, I've been to Columbus, Ohio. It's a pretty great city, but it gets cold in this time of year. ASU, the summers are brutal, but for the majority of the Jesus Gomez's time here, it will be spent not in that. So, I'm sure that he loved the weather down here and didn't want to play in that, in that cold weather up there in Ohio. We've seen, he's been in cold weather for a really long time. So why not come down here and be in the warm weather? It's just weather in general is such an important recruiting tool that ASU just needs to take advantage of. It sounds silly, but it's not. It's really not.
We've been talking about that since we started this podcast.
Yeah, we've been talking about this since long before we started this podcast, that it's just nice here. It's a great.
That's why people called ASU
78 degrees today.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's why people called ASU a sleeping giant for so long.
Exactly.
So hopefully they've been awoken.
Especially when you consider awoken. Especially when you consider like playing into December and potentially into January this season. Like it's in the 70s today outside.
Yeah.
And like, what player wouldn't want to just live somewhere where they can compete for a title and it be 75 degrees outside or whatever. But some stats I wanted to hit on real quick.
Yeah, enough weather talk.
In his 3 seasons at Eastern Michigan, Jesus made 40 of 47 field goals inside the 50 and was 6 of 11 outside the 50, made 2 of them each season. The big stat, though, is ASU kickers this season are 4 for 12, 33% on kicks from at least 30 yards. Yeah. That is like extra point distance and beyond. Gomez was 14 for 19. That's like nearly 3 times as good.
Yeah, the 5 misses kind of concerning, but
in college, I think it's pretty good numbers because
it is pretty good.
Because
30
again,
30
and
yards
it's
out.
a billion times better.
Yeah,
it's a billion times better. Yeah, exactly. It's an upgrade. That's
I
what's important
misunderstood
here.
the stat. I thought you were saying from 30 yards in. That would have been
Oh,
concerning.
no, from
no, I see
out.
30 yards out. Yeah, that makes sense. Now the receivers. Let's start with.
Real quick, I did have to add. I know you said to not talk more weather, but 37 degrees in Columbus today and cloudy. On Tuesday, it's supposed to be 41 degrees with a 55% chance of rain. Sounds incredible to me.
Noble Johnson, wide receiver from Clemson. He's set to transfer to Arizona State. 6'2", 210, big body receiver. Didn't play much this season. 3 catches for 16 yards as a redshirt freshman. 49 snaps on offense, 45 out wide, 3 in the slot, and 1 in the backfield. So I guess you can say kind of versatile, can play kind of all over the place as a receiver, slot receiver, wherever you want to put him.
Kind of a bigger guy, too, at 6'2".
Yeah. I wouldn't say a big-time recruit coming out of high school, but he was a known recruit.
Solid.
If you're going to a school like Clemson, obviously you're gonna be pretty good. But I think this is a good get for ASU. Obviously, they need depth at the wide receiver position. They saw that this season, and they went out and got 2 of them. We're going to get to Jalen Moss in a second because I think he's the gem so far of this class that we're going to talk about. But in terms of Noble Johnson, Jesse, and Damon, what do you think?
Well, I mean, he's on Clemson, or he was on Clemson, and if Clemson beats Texas, then Clemson plays ASU, and maybe he can help with the game plan if that's allowed.
I don't know if he's going to be here yet. So
he can send texts and
I don't know
have FaceTime calls. I don't know. There's no rules anymore.
It's a slippery slope here.
It's a slippery slope.
Bill Belichick's back is now in college football. Now you're panning for people to do Bill Belichick.
I mean,
stuff.
if they go through the rule book, if it's illegal, don't do it. If it's legal, then or if there's no wording about it, it can't be illegal if there's no wording about it. So I mean, just ask him. What's Cade Klubnik like?
And I just wanted to point out too, Kenny has talked to us a lot about not caring as much about the rankings when you're recruiting as much as the person. And I think from what we've seen about how they have flipped and developed these under-ranked guys, I think gives me the trust to say, okay, you guys have a good eye for this stuff. I think that either of these guys, Noble or Jalen Moss, could end up having really, really solid stints with ASU just because Kenny seems to be recruiting on such a level right now of just, I know what I'm looking for and what can work in the system. And, Hines Ward, obviously a big factor here as well.
Some would say he's noble.
Okay. That's enough. Jalen Moss, 6'1", 175 pounds, wide receiver from Fresno, now transferring to ASU. I kind of would comp him as kind of a Jordan Tyson type, maybe a little smaller in terms of weight, but that excites me, especially since, he had, I think, over 500 yards this season. So, good wide receiver number 2 possibly for Tyson next season.
And interesting you bring up Tyson because I saw that as well when I turned on the tape, but also he's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. And so if potentially Tyson comes back and has the year that we think he can and goes on to the NFL, then Moss has a chance to step up into that similar role when Tyson is gone and it's Moss's final year.
I think that this is great. I mean, he put up pretty solid numbers at Fresno State, and I think that for ASU to pick a target that seems like he could be a legit number 2 because they didn't really have that this year. I mean, we're kind of seeing Guillory evolve into that. Well, we're kind of seeing him evolve
into wide receiver 1
into wide receiver 1 right now. But I mean, he had one of the best catches.
Mateer was really their number 2 option.
Yeah,
in terms
or
of the passing,
or Scat.
Yeah, in terms of the
Mateer, who
receiving.
had a catch maybe even better than the one Guillory had in the Big 12 game. Mateer had maybe an even better one at practice on Wednesday. It was killer. He had like 2 defenders between him and the quarterback, draped all over him, caught it with one hand while the other hand was being pulled away from him. It was incredible.
Yeah, so 48 receptions, 563 yards, and 4 touchdowns this season, about 11.7 yards per reception this year, Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, could be a solid number 2 to Tyson next year, and they could really solidify the receiving core, which, Damon thinks they're going to pass the ball more next year, and I think they probably will too. Just not, I don't know how much more, but they'll pass the ball more next year, and they're going to need people to throw to if they want to do that. And that, depth at that position this year has kind of been iffy, I guess I would say.
He also has a punt return, so could help in the return game as well.
Yep. We haven't really seen very big returns from ASU this year, so
there was one by by Smith. Smith had one.
That's right.
In a kick return that.
Yeah, but we haven't really seen it consistently where
haven't seen dynamism.
Yeah, where there's a game breaker at that position. So if they can bring in somebody that can do that,
that can moss them,
special team.
Haven't seen it since Tim White was here at ASU.
That's
Shout
a
out
long
Tim
time.
White.
It's like 10 years, right?
He was one of my favorite players to watch when I was first started watching.
Nikhil
ASU.
was a pretty dynamic teams player. I got
He was incredible. Good.
Now, Damon would like everyone to know that he did have 6 catches for 46 yards and 1 touchdown in the win over Arizona State last season.
Yeah, it's funny. ASU picked a kicker who,
Beat them.
in a way brought this staff here. And then now a receiver who scored a touchdown in the only game that Kenny Dillingham has been shut out at ASU.
Yeah, so he was a top 650 overall prospect, top 90 receiver in the 2022 class out of California. Some others that you want to talk about that are visiting soon, Damon, that could possibly be big additions to this transfer portal class?
Yeah, just some quick names to bring up. Randy Pittman and Kamari Anderson are 2 tight ends. Amarion Winston is an Oregon defensive end. Army running back Kanye Udo obviously is a big one. And then USC wide receiver Deuce Robinson have all visited or soon will. In terms of the tight ends, probably expect to only take one. In terms of Deuce Robinson, if he doesn't pick ASU, which, On3 is one place that has been pretty confident that he will pick ASU, maybe look toward... the name is escaping me right now, but there was a wide receiver offered who was Sam Levitt's teammate at West Linn High School in Oregon.
Correct.
Maybe look in that direction if Deuce doesn't pick ASU, but yeah, all things considered, a fairly strong portal so far for ASU.
Yeah, and also another outgoing transfer portal guy would be Cole Martin, who looks to be following his dad to UCLA. 100% crystal ball. UCLA on 24/7 Sports, so it looks like someone knows something there.
He didn't play much, if at all, this season. I don't think he may have had the surgery.
Played a couple games.
Okay, yeah, early in the season surgery. Was an incredible vibes guy all throughout the season. Even with that, was always smiling around the practices. It's gonna be sad to see him go.
Yeah, but what has been cool this week, Damon, and what you wrote about on ArizonaSports.com is the vibes at practice, because some of these guys that have entered the portal and decided where they're going to school next are sticking around for this playoff run, and that's pretty neat, huh?
Yeah, you're just not going to see this handling of the transfer portal by many programs around the country. Kenny is so player first in this sense about, letting guys enter the portal and still practice, letting guys enter the portal, and sounds like Marquiston Douglas might be one that still plays in the playoff.
He's been really good as a blocking tight end, especially on short down situations. One that I can recall was that he blocked for Jeff Sims' rushing touchdown in the Utah game this year.
I just hope Kanye Udo comes here. It's a little bit of a stronger program than Army at ASU.
Good one.
That's bold.
Yeah, he's making a joke. That the Army. What, are we going to talk about how service academy schools aren't winning the national championship every year, Jesse?
No, I was making a Kanye West joke.
Okay.
Stronger, get it? You know.
Oh, okay,
gotcha.
Yeah, but no, other coaches have complained about the portal, and especially it opening during the bowl season, college football playoff. But people forget this is college; they have to apply to the school so that they can transfer
and be accepted
and then
get credits to work.
Correct. They have to get into classes starting in January. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes so that they're eligible to go to that school next season. So there's no way to move this transfer portal window around. This is just how it is.
Well, I mean, I think there could be, but it's definitely going to delay the academic process for the student athlete, which I don't know if we want to do. So, a lot of colleges have, like ASU has like a session B classes, so you can enroll in like March and takes a few classes that are like half semester classes. That would be a way that they could fix this problem. But right now, as of today, this is what's going on. So I'm tired of hearing all of these coaches that are in the college football playoff complaining about this, because it is a reality. Deal with it. You're making millions of dollars to coach college football. Get over it.
And, maybe convince your players to stay.
Exactly.
And that's another thing we can bring up with ASU is just the player retention right now. I think Marquiston might be the one with the most snaps played of anyone that has entered the transfer portal. And I think it's fair to say, like if Marquiston Douglas is going to be your biggest transfer portal departure, you're feeling okay about that.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll get into this real quick.
All right.
This is what Texas coach Steve Sarkisian said. ASU could play Texas in the Peach Bowl. He said, in 3 weeks, he said, quote, in 3 weeks, the NFL playoffs are going to begin, but imagine every one of those players becoming free agents the day they announce who's in the playoffs. That's what's happening in college football. He was one coach that made complaints about it. James Franklin made complaints about it. Kenny Dillingham
isn't the NFL though.
It's not.
It's college. The kids have to go to school.
Exactly.
It feels like the SEC is trying to say it is the NFL.
and here, well, I mean, it just means more.
And then you got James Franklin.
Yeah, James Franklin complained about it.
Big Ten.
This is what you've got from Kenny Dillingham. Mark Easton's practicing. He's going to be huge for us here in the Peach Bowl. You have Kamari Wilson, who's out there practicing, who plays a lot of packages for us on defense, and he's back out there. Then you have guys that just still want to be a part of it out here too. We kind of got a mix of guys that are helping us on scout team versus guys that are going to help us on game day. My job is to help these guys just because they went into...
Wait. Say that part again.
My job is to help these guys.
Yeah.
Just because they went into the portal doesn't mean they shouldn't have the opportunity to continue to be on the team to finish out the year if that's what they want to do. Coaches like Sark, coaches like James Franklin are absolute buzzkills, and the attitude that you want from your coach. If you're a player, do you want to go to a place that is complaining about this rule, or do you want to go to a place where, you're going to be supported and your coach is with the times and understands that it's just part of the job and understands that this is a great opportunity for him to be a Division I college football coach and on a Power 4 team? Do you want that guy, or do you want the guy that's going to be out here like, it's so hard for me to prepare for the opponent and also have guys in the transfer portal? Get over it. Like,
you're a top 10 program.
You're a top 10 program.
It should not be hard.
It's not that hard. You got to work a little extra. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about your that's your $1 million salary. You can't work a little harder for that. You know what? I found this right here for you. World's smallest violin.
Wow.
World's smallest violin. Exactly. So guess what? I'm so tired of the whining. I'm so tired of the complaining. It's part of it. This is not the NFL. There is such thing as class. And you know what? I don't know if we really want to go to this where guys have to enroll in a new school in March. Probably should just give them the opportunity to get their to get their start on their semester at the beginning of the semester. Because guess what? NIL and the transfer portal hasn't really done that much to affect academics, because there are guys on ASU's team that are incredibly good academically. And so I just don't want to hear these coaches anymore just complain about how the transfer portal is just so hard. You are getting paid millions of dollars. Once again, just shut up.
It shows what they care about, right? Because they care about winning right now, this season. Don't care about the players' future. What the players' if they don't go to the NFL, or if they do go to the NFL, have a good career, they have to do something after that, right? They have to make money somehow.
Exactly.
And getting an education, I don't know how everyone feels about education here, but if you were to, education can possibly help you find a job after you go and play college football or in the big leagues in the NFL.
And let me jump in here because another thing that, you mentioned, what if you don't play after the NFL or whatever? Another thing Sarkisian mentioned about the players with NFL hopes is the best thing they can do for their future is play well in the college football playoffs. So literally going to your point about I don't care about their future. All I care about is right now. He's just focused on how do I win right now. And I think the most important thing about how Kenny is handling this is that he is putting his actions where his mouth is in terms of at practice on Wednesday, you know what we saw a bunch of? We saw a ton of D2, D3, NIAI coaches.
NAIA.
That's what I said.
And okay.
We saw,
all right.
Saw,
don't need to get into semantics there.
We saw a ton of them, and it's because Kenny wants these coaches to come out and see these players, these walk-ons.
Just like what Jonathan Gannon has done for him in terms...
Well, a little bit different because these guys are coming in to scout transfers.
Oh, okay.
And, the walk-ons who might not be here next year. It is amazing to me that he is putting these players in position to actually get seen by coaches who could be better for their future and, putting them in a position to get the best out of their future.
Kenny cares. He is a good person, and he gets it. And, say somebody like Navi Bruzon decides to transfer, and he could be, the starter at Jeremy used to cover Carroll College. They're kind of a NAIA power. Imagine him.
Don't do that to Navi.
Well, I'm just saying. Imagine he could go up there. He could do really well, and then end up back at a higher level playing. You should have
said NAU.
Okay. Well,
like
anyway. Well, it's just an example. I'm saying.
We get what you're saying. I'm just joking. I'm just messing with you.
And the players love this about Kenny too. Like firsthand, Xavier Alford told us it is lovely the way Kenny handles it because this is just not how other coaches operate, where it's always about your future. And you're not going to see a ton of other college coaches retweeting, quote tweeting about the players when they leave, when they announce their their departure into the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And Kenny's out here quote tweeting it saying, this is a great person, always brought it to our practice field, giving these signs of approval as, don't give up on this kid. And Kenny fighting for these kids.
That are leaving his program.
There's it benefits him zero
it shows
to do
cares.
this.
Again.
It just shows he cares.
Correct.
Yeah.
Basketball. Tough loss to Florida.
Tough losses from the basketball teams, really.
Yeah. Well, let's start with men's hoops.
Men's hoops, a little bit less of a tough loss because of the
number 9 Florida.
83-69.
Now they are 0-2 against top 25 opponents this year. 0-3 if you want to count the Duke game, but we don't
because it wasn't the regular season.
Yeah. But that does bother me, right? Tough competition. They played well in the game in Las Vegas that they played against Santa Clara.
Two games? Or was that Palm Springs?
Santa
2
Clara,
games?
right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was Santa
Palm
Clara.
Springs.
It was Palm Springs.
And then St. Mary's and US. Two wins in Palm Springs.
Something like that.
Yeah, they got 2 wins in Palm Springs.
But I'm saying against the big opponents that they've played, they've struggled. And a lot of the games that they've played this season, no matter who the opponents are, they haven't been blowing out until maybe 5 minutes left in the second half when they start to really put it together.
Well, let me jump in real quick because this is interesting. The one time they have really totally blown out an opponent, they started down 17-5 against San Diego.
Correct.
And then Bobby got that technical foul, and then ASU was plus 49 from there. They won by almost 40. In Florida, in the Florida game, he also got a technical foul in the first half, and you're kind of thinking maybe this galvanizes the team the way it did against San Diego. Did not happen.
Yeah.
My point on this game, just real quickly, is ASU just didn't shoot the ball well. They had good looks, didn't shoot the ball well, and I still was really impressed with Jaden Quaintance. So, it's a setback for sure, but Jaden Quaintance looked really good, and the shots just didn't fall. That was my opinion on this game. I'm not too concerned moving forward.
Yeah, and Sandin had a tough game as well.
Yeah, Sandin had a tough game. He's not going to have those games all the time.
Yeah.
To me, it was just about the 3 Florida guards taking over the game, and, it was tough to shoot with them.
Yeah. get right game against UMass this weekend. We'll see how that game goes. It's on Saturday, 2 p.m.
In Springfield, Massachusetts, the birthplace of basketball.
Yeah, and you can hear that on the Arizona Sports app, correct? And 98.7?
I believe it'll be on either 98.7 or on 620.
Correct. So yeah, make sure to
Big
tune into
12
that
play
one.
starts.
Yeah, so that's what worries me, is that this team really needs to get right against UMass and start to really show their dominance against lesser opponents, because Big 12 is...
There's not going to be many lesser opponents.
No, Big 12 is no joke. So a lot of these games, hopefully, in the Big 12 will be close. Now let's get to women's hoops. They are really struggling right now.
Yeah.
They're on a 2-game losing streak. They split the games that they played in D.C., including a loss to Coppin State. They lost to, or the only win that they have recently was a win against Maryland Eastern Shore by 7.
Not great.
They lost to UC Davis and San Francisco, and now they have a really tough game on Saturday against Utah.
Yeah, I think that game could be really ugly. I think that they're up there for potentially the worst team in Power 4. I think that it's just that these teams that they're losing to, they should just not be losing to, given that they're Arizona State and these programs are just not even anywhere near. I mean, ASU's, again, a pretty storied women's basketball program. I think that, losing to a 2-6 San Francisco team, it's just not cutting it, and there's going to have to be some changes here if this keeps up.
That's going to do it for this edition of State of the Sun Devils. Thank you so much for listening and watching. You can find us on all forms of social media. At AZ Sports Devils is where you can find us. You can also find all of Damon's articles on the Arizona Sports app and on arizonasports.com. For Jesse Morrison, Damon Allred, I'm Jeremy Schnell. We'll talk to you soon.